Okay, now we're into the top 5, and obviously this week being Halloween, we're doing our top 5 horror films. So, here we go. Starting off at number 5 and working our way all the way up to number 1. Number 5.
I've gone with The Wicker Man for number 5. I think it's a classic. It's still chilling from the first time I watched it till now.
So we're talking about the original, not the Nicolas Cage remake.
Absolutely, it's the original and not that thing. But
what did you think of the Nick Cage remake?
I think it's shocking.
Really compared to the first one, I think so. But I think as on its own, as a bit of fun, it's a bit of crazy fun.
Oh God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Well, at number 5, I had Poltergeist, which we have mentioned several times already. I always thought that was quite a good, 80s. They start to use the special effects quite well. I think Spielberg was in there in the production somewhere. When I was a kid, I was terrified of that film. I couldn't have watched it as a kid because just the idea of it scared the hell out of me. But yeah, that's why I had it number 5. That little lady who's in it as well with the walk to the light, Carolyn. Brilliant.
Number 4, yeah, I've gone for The Birds.
Oh,
which
I suppose it is a horror film. I wouldn't think of it as being, but it is really.
Yeah, I think it's it often gets kind of missed out a lot. I think, but I think it's an absolutely terrifying film and really, really creepy. My mum hates it because she hates birds, so it terrifies out of her. But I think it's everyone always goes to Psycho with Hitchcock, and Psycho's very good, but it's not really scary. Certainly for modern audiences, anyway. But The Bird stands up still, and the suspense, of course, the master suspense that he builds up, the tension in the film that really pays off is really creepy in a very real way, I think. So yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's a good choice because, like I say, I wouldn't have thought of that film in particular as being a horror film, but since you mention it and looking at it, it's like, yeah, it is really. So yeah, at number 4, I had the Hammer horror version of Dracula with Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
I always liked that one. I always thought that was quite a classic. Christopher Lee is, for many people, the archetypal Dracula. You've got Peter Cushing in there as well as Van Helsing, so a bit of a star-studded cast.
Yeah, I think it is one of them. I'm not a fan of watching the Hammer House horror films, really, in that sense, but I have total respect for the importance of them. I think
I like a lot of studio films as well, that some are better than others, and that particular Dracula one I think is quite a benchmark for a lot of horror films.
So number 3, I went for The Blair Witch Project.
Oh yeah.
I remember the very first time I saw it, I was probably only about 10 or 11, responsible parenting there. But it was the first one to do that docudrama thing, on videotape and all that. And kind of looking back when you watch it, the story is a bit naff and all that kind of stuff, but there's other things in there that do make it completely chilling, that still kind of sit with me today.
You're talking about the snot coming down the nose.
The snot coming down the nose, which is terrifying.
This was my interview, my story. It's all my fault.
But there's little things like when the tent's getting attacked in the middle of the night, so it's getting rattled, and there's little things in there like a baby crying in the distance and stuff like that. And it's those little touches that's what creeped me out.
All right, so in my number 3, I've got The Exorcist, which we mentioned earlier.
Classic.
It's a classic film. I mean, I didn't watch it till I was a little bit older. I think it was banned for a few years. I'm not sure whether it was not banned, but banned on video. It'd give a theatrical release, but I remember it was hard to get hold of in the 80s when I was a kid and stuff, and I didn't see it until I was like teenager. But you got to respect The Exorcist just because it's such a well-made film.
Yeah, it is it's very well made. I think it's maybe not aged as gracefully, obviously from a production standpoint.
I got a little story about it that might amuse you quickly. I used to work in a video store years ago, as I've told you before, and people would bring back the discs, and you'd have to check them if they said, "Oh, this disc is skipping. I want my money back," or "I want a free rental," or something. And you think, okay, you've got to check the disc yourself. So it's part of the job to sit there and, you can get on with other stuff, but you've got movies playing in the background just to check that the disc isn't scratched or something. And one time I was watching The Exorcist, and somebody came in and they were browsing, and it was like a lady that was a little bit older. So, she must have been over 60 years old, and she's quietly pottering about looking at some of the DVD cases. And I thought I'd turn the tally right down. After I paused it when they came in. I turned the volume right down, but mistakenly I turned it all the way up because it was one of these old sort of weird monitors that it was the opposite way. And anyway, when I thought, oh, it's fine, she's just browsing, I've turned the volume down, I pressed play, and it was just at that moment in the film where she says, "Stick your cup in your ass, you grr." And I was like, ah! I had to sort of like pause it, but it was too late then because she just blurted it out, and it just like echoed for
brilliant.
And you just got this woman looking like...
Okay, number 2, I've gone for the film, which creeped me out a hell of a lot as a kid, The Omen.
Oh yeah.
It's a strange film because it kind of, whilst all those other films were out and about, venturing into kind of the gore territory at that time.
Yeah.
They kind of went in a different direction in the whole kind of suspense. The creepy story of a cute young kid who's actually the spawn of Satan, so to speak.
Sure, yeah. Well, I always liked The Omen. I thought it was a good horror film. I like the sequel as well, Omen 2, where he's like a teenager and he goes off to military school, and there's like obviously people there that are waiting for him, like, we're gonna teach you how to be the devil, sort of thing. And that was a good one as well. And then you got the third installment. I think it was Sam Neill played
Sam Neill, yeah.
The last one, which was all right. That wasn't brilliant, but they ended the story pretty well. But it's quite a solid trilogy.
Quite solid.
The first two are the best two, though. For my number 2 slot, it's the film over your shoulder there tonight. It's The Shining.
Here's Johnny.
Yeah, exactly. It's incredibly unique film. It's not like any other horror films. It's about a guy that basically gradually goes insane over the course of a winter, looking after this, empty hotel where all these weird things have happened in the past that they don't know about. And poor, old Shelley Duvall and the kid get the brunt of Jack's insanity as he's chasing them about the hotel. And I just thought, it's just incredibly creepy film. The way he slowly turns, it's like, one of my favorites.
Here's Johnny.
Incredibly creepy and amazingly shot film, obviously with Kubrick, and really it's Nicholson's audition tape for the Joker, isn't it?
That's a good way of seeing it, I suppose. Yeah.
It's like this is what I'm gonna do. But
this is Jack at his most bat crazy.
It really is. It really is.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Right, so now we've got down to the number 1 slot, our number 1 horror films as we stand today. We might change our minds tomorrow or the day after, but today, our choice for number 1, what have you got? Let me know.
Okay, so my number 1 horror film is a film that's always creeped me the hell out ever since I first watched it when I was probably about 10, which is Don't Look Now.
Yeah.
From
classic.
The 70s.
Absolute classic.
Donald Sutherland, Julie Christie. It's an interesting kind of horror film, I think, because obviously it deals with something so human and so real in terms of they're dealing with grief, the death of their daughter, and obviously he's having to deal with that, and there's a lot of kind of psychological effects going on throughout the whole film, and that builds up and this whole tense and suspense thing. It's got that whole 70s vibe, which I always think adds extra creepy sensibility to these kind of things.
Like with The Omen and The Exorcist, that's same with those two, isn't it? That 70s thing.
It's got that something about it, isn't it? The 70s and like the colour palette switch and everything.
Yeah.
And to me, Spoilers if you haven't seen the film, but the kind of that end scene to this day is one of the most scary, creepy things I think I've ever kind of witnessed. It still scars me now. It's
well, don't spoil it for people. I know what you're talking about. Anyone who's seen it definitely knows what you're talking about. But yeah, if you've never seen Don't Look Now, go and watch it, and it'll boogie on your brain. So for my number one choice, I got The Witch, which is quite a recent film and doesn't really fall into any of the usual subgenres for horror, zombie or creepy creatures or slasher or any of that. It's kind of historical drama that's set in New England around the time that they would have been having witch trials and stuff. You got everybody sort of dressed like
like the Witchfinder General type things.
Yeah, that style, and it's about a family that have, they've got this goat called Black Phillip that's like represents the devil in it, and there's the mother and the father and the whole question of faith to God, and then there's this witch off in the woods that steals the baby. But it's all the way it's all done and all put together. I thought it was just a really, really creepy and cool film, and it's just so measured and so well sort of drawn out, and you can tell that he's referenced a load of historical documents to get the accuracy of everything right. And for me, I just thought it was just a fantastic watch. I know that we've got it there on our collection, so I'm still waiting for you to see that so we can have a chat about it, but highly recommend that too as a good modern piece.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I definitely think I'll check it out in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I'd be interested
to
know what you think.
Season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea, and some people would say, "Oh, that wasn't scary at all," because there isn't anything in it that I think is, is synonymous with horror. There's not a lot of blood, and there's no stuff that suddenly makes you jump. But I just thought it was just like a real sort of realistic vision of what supposedly these witches were like back in the day.
Well, that comes down to something we've talked about before in terms of what you define as horror. It's quite a difficult genre to pin down, really, because it's quite a varied opinion, I think, on what it is. But
definitely,
there we go. That's our kind of top 5 each and 10 top horror films. I'm sure people will agree and disagree in the comments below, but let us know what you think and let us know what you top 5 horror films are, and if you think some of us have got something terribly wrong.